I'm going to kick us off because there's a whole lot to cover today. I'm Cheryl Carrier. I'm the Executive Director of Ford Next Generation Learning. Many of you may know this because if you have been on these webinars before, we have been working with ACTE to build out the Career Academies section. We're firm believers in Career Academies at Ford Next Generation Learning, and we really wanted to be part of building a movement with ACT around this. So we're delighted to have you here today. You are in for a great treat. We have Donna Gilley with us. She is a remarkable woman who's loads of fun and super smart about academies. She was the director of academies and CTE at Metro Nashville Public Schools, and she, and the Academies of Nashville, which I'm sure many of you have heard about if you are doing academies or even, wall to wall as a transformation model. And so Donna is also a Ford Next Generation Learning community coach. We stole her when she retired and she came to work with us. So she's working with communities all across the country and even across the pond in Scotland. And are you in Scotland? I know you're in England. Scotland, England, yes. Anyway, so without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Donna, who's going to take you through what the hopes for today are. You're going to have a little chance to interact with some of your peers for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to dive into what does this really look like to truly be a career-themed academy. And so with that, Donna, I flip it over to you.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you so much. And good afternoon to everyone. And I just want to encourage you, if you feel the need, pop your camera on so I can look at you and we can engage with each other over the next hour or so. So thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. So you may wonder, what in the world are we going to do today? Well, here's our goal. You can see our driving question for the day is really, what are career academies and how are they different from just plain old good CTE programming? Well, I want to tell you what, Cheryl told you a little bit about me, but here's what I'm most proud of. I am a teacher. I am a CTE teacher. I spent about 17 years in the classroom, and as much as I loved the years that I was supporting at the district level, I absolutely adored my years as teaching. And I'm so excited that we're going to get to spend the next hour together, and I would assume many of you are CTE teachers yourself. So I am one of you, and some of the outcomes that I hope we can uncover while we're working today. First and foremost, I always believe it's important to get to your why. Why is this work so important to you? Why is being a good CTE teacher important to you? And why might we want to even take it to the next level of what we're calling career academies? Hopefully you're going to learn a little bit about Ford NGL and who we are. And, every good CTE classroom knows we got to do some hands-on work. So we're even going to, in the span of an hour, we're going to have some collaborative work. But most importantly, what I hope we walk away with later this afternoon is a better understanding of what career academies are and how can we take rock solid, good CTE programming even to a higher level. So that's what we're going to do today. But before we dive into it, I want to see who we've got in the room. So I tell you what, now we're going to use our chat box and go back to the days of COVID learning and just jump right in there. I'm going to bring up my chat. And if you could just share with me your name, your role, what organization, and I even see there's Elizabeth. I'm so excited. I've got at least one person I know in here. So your school district or role, including the state, so we can see how many states we got represented here. And then I want you to just give me a number, a 1, a 2, or a 3, based on your knowledge of Career Academy. So I'm going to pause for a minute and just look over here and start reading to see what we've got. We got Regina in the house. And she's a ProStart instructor. I love it. I worked with ProStart a lot in my role as a CTE director. So, Regine, so glad to have you here. We got an assistant principal from Arizona. Good to have you. I bet it's chilly out there today, but you know, do your best. And you're a 2, so good job. We got Chris Trotter, strategic partnerships. I love that. Elkhorn in Wisconsin. We got April Keating, work-based learning. That's speaking to my heart there in Iowa. Again, a number 2. 2 seems the safe bet. I think that we're all thinking we got a multiple choice test here, and somewhere along the way, our teacher said, if you don't know, just say, go with the middle and guess C. So we got a bunch of 2s here. So we're going to hopefully play on some that we already know, but then we're going to learn some more. Got some more work-based learning, another assistant principal. We're building a new CTE wing. All right, Becky, I know that is exciting. So that's fantastic. We've got Michael. We got a 1. Thank you for being willing to say Career Academy. What does that mean? But I hope that you can say 3 or maybe 2 by the time we've finished. Let's see, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, that's you're 3. For those of you that don't know and wonder why I keep picking on Elizabeth, Elizabeth is the Academy coach in the Academies of Shakopee, and I have the privilege and honor of coaching in that community. So it's so good to see you. We've got some from Moorhead, Minnesota, outreach coordinator. Hello, Donna. Hey, Francisco. Good to see you. And you're a level 1. We're going to keep that moving up. So we've got Casey. I don't think I saw you before. Welcome to you. We've just got a whole slew of people, and we are going to have fun today. So we've got, I used to say in my classroom, I promise you one thing, if we don't have fun in this classroom, we're just not going to do it because life's too short. So we not only are going to learn a little bit about what in the world is a Career Academy, how it's related to CTE, because you all are some great representatives of career and technical education. And thank you for the hard work you do. So we're just going to jump right in. I'm going to do my best to finish on time. After hearing me for a few minutes, you're going to understand why that's always probably the biggest challenge of all. But I always want to start with our why. I want you to think, why are you doing this work? What is your why? And really and truly, as you think about the world of change management, because really that's what the world we're in, it's constantly changing. I always find that if we will get to everyone's why, you can get to the how and the what, but you got to start with the why. And so while we're having our time together over the next hour, I want you to keep that why near and dear to your heart. It looks like I'm frozen and not a very good position, so don't look at the screen. Oh, I'm back there. So I just wonder if there's anyone that is willing, any 2 people, what is your why? Why do you do this work? Anyone want to share?
I can. I have a whole slideshow. We just did this at work.
Laura, go for it. What is your why?
I will spare you that. I am from Madison, Mississippi. I was born in Georgia, but I don't remember very much other than visiting as the years went backwards. But I have born and raised in Madison just about most of my days. And when I was little, and everybody would ask where you're going to school and what you're going to do and all those things, and everybody had all these big aspirations. All I ever really wanted to do was grow my community and raise my children back in this area that I think is absolutely fantastic. And we have been building doors on schools and roads and construction on industrial areas here. We've got big companies like Nissan and Continental Tires, which we barely had a stoplight when I was a kid. So I believe my why is still just putting workforce readiness together for my area and keeping my business and my people in my community. So.
Laura, I love that. And I knew from the minute you said, hi, Laura, and I'm from Mississippi, that you would not have any problem understanding me today. And I have to tell you, I am from a small town as well. And I used to tell my kids, I'm from Spencer, Tennessee, and we used to have a red light, but someone shot it out in the 70s and they never put it back up. And that was a true story. So I am glad to know that there's another person like me out there, that we don't have a red light, but we are passionate about helping kids. Thank you, Laura. Anyone else want to share?
I can share.
Thanks.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Tremaine Marshall. I work in Arizona, Glendale, Arizona, so right outside of Phoenix. But I came to CTE because I really like the idea that students are getting a very practical, hands-on education in a field that is going to serve them after high school. I believe that everyone who wants to go to college should be able to go, but college isn't the path for everyone. And so we need to introduce students to a lot of different areas where they can make a lot of money and do, things that are of interest to them.
Thank you so much. And you're absolutely right. College is not for everyone. And you know what? That is okay, because there's lots of good, high-paying jobs. What we want for everyone, and that plays into my next slide. So let me go ahead and add that. And that is that we really care about kids. Now I want you to just take a few minutes and read that screen. I'm not going to read it to you, but what I'd like to ask you to do as you're reading it to yourself, what resonates with you? What word or phrase stands out and speaks to your heart? Anyone?
I think just even the start with the young people deserve to feel like they are people of value and they are safe.
That's right, that young people need to feel that they are of value. Thank you, Tara. Anyone else? What spoke to you?
Michael Mangan from Houston, Minnesota here. Really the idea of the opportunities. So that's speaking to me, just creating opportunities for students, as well as when it comes to creating experiences, the engagement of the profession that we serve in.
I love that. Opportunities and engagement. You're so right. And I bet each of us could think back into our personal lives and someone opened a door. Someone introduced us to someone. Someone took us somewhere and pointed at something and said, you can do that. Well, this is some research, and you can see here from the Search Institute. But what research tells us is that kids, if they have 5 caring adults in their lives to really support them, that the chances of them being successful just goes out of the roof. And now I say that because I've got a bunch of CTE educators on here, and we know you do a lot of this support. And you might say, well, what are those 5 people doing? So here's some of what the Search Institute says of what that support looks like. It's express care. It's show me that I matter. Just like I think it was Tara that said that I have value. It's that challenge of pushing me to get better. It's like Michael said, show me an opportunity, but let me get better. It's that providing support where you're going to sort of help me achieve tasks and achieve my goals. It's that share power where you treat me with respect and give me a say, that I have that voice. And then again, as Michael said here, for real, is the expand the possibilities. Connect me with people and places to broaden my world. Well, now, I'm going to tell you, as Cheryl said, I've been a part of Metro Nashville Public Schools my whole career. I retired a few years ago now. But when we created a Career Academies 18 years ago, it's been forever, we based the academies on basically that premise that we wanted to build a structure where we knew kids could have 5 caring adults in their lives. And so hopefully, as I've been reading over those words, I hope you thought about so I want you to go all the way back in your life to when you were in high school. I want you to think about it. And I want you to just jot down on whatever you've got there to jot down. And if you don't have a piece of paper, just capture it in your mind. who were those caring adults in your life? Did you have 5? You know what's funny? When we go in schools now, and I ask kids this all the time, think about the adults in this that you have in your life that no matter what, they're going to have your back. They're going to have that express care, and they're going to challenge you and expand your possibilities. Most of the time, kids will hold up 1 or 2 fingers. Sometimes they hold up, find my camera, none. But what we know is research says if you've got 5, the chances of success go way up. And so I wonder, how many numbers did you all come up with? Let's just drop them in the chat. Just give me a number. You don't even have to give me their name, but give me a number. How many caring adults? Latrice says 2. Elizabeth says 4. You got some 3s, 2s. And we're all educators, friends. We made it. And so you can see that the key component, we got some more coming in, 3s and 2s, 1 or 2. Someone's got a 4 there. Good job, Francisco. We got a 3. But that is at the essence of everything. And now as CTE teachers, man, I know you're that one. And matter of fact, when I'm in schools, a lot of times it's that CTE teacher. And it's because of the nature of what we teach and how we teach that we wind up being that 1 or 2. Now, over the span of the next few minutes, we're going to talk about how we can change this statistic. Now, again, you're CTE teachers, you know it. You are that 1 or 2 for many kids that's raising their fingers in a conversation with me. But how could we set up a structure so that every kid could have 5 caring adults in their lives? Whew, wouldn't that be amazing? Well, I tell you what, here's what I think it is. I think it is community-connected learning. Now, Cheryl talked with you a little bit about who we are. We're Ford Next Generation Learning. I'll talk a little bit about the organization a little later, and that's important. But the most important thing I want you to remember is that it is about involving the student in the whole community and involving the whole community in the education of students in everything that they do. It adds relevance. You know, it used to be that you ask a question, the kid raised their hand and you know, they did their homework and you know, they want to be involved. But in today's world, kids, if they don't see the relevance, I mean, they got these little computers in their hands called phones that, quite honestly, we're kind of boring to them. And so we've got to bring the community in to make learning relevant for them, but also to connect what they're learning in English and math and social studies. What's that look like in the real world, as we often say? Now, you might wonder what that list of stakeholders looks like. And here's just a little bit of a list. And again, really what I mean here is everyone, from post-secondary partners to your business and community partners, teachers, students, parents. And as you learn a little more about this model, Ford Next Generation Learning, we believe that this is the key ingredient. This is the magic sauce, if you will, is building a structure where the entire community is working to help support that young person, from helping build the curriculum to providing those experiences to supporting teachers. But in other words, creating a system where there's 5 caring adults in their lives. Well, I tell you what, we're going to get into the engagement part of this process now, because no one wants to just sit and listen to this country girl talk all day. So we're going to get into breakout rooms, because I want you to think about what could community connected learning really look like if you were a member of a different stakeholder group. Now, in just a moment, Axel is our tech guru on here, and he's going to move all of us into a different breakout room, and you'll be in one of these breakout rooms. And it doesn't matter what role you're in, you're going to play the role of either a teacher, and that can be both career and technical education teacher or general education or staff. So you are that rubber meets the road in our schools. You're the teachers that's teaching the young people. That'll be one role. Another breakout room is going to think about the student. You're going to put your student hat on and you're going to think about, if I was involved in a community connected learning experience, what could that look like and feel like? And then finally, what if I was that business or community partner? What if I was one of some of these, what we call external partners? What if I was the Chamber of Commerce? Or what if I was the owner of a small mom and pop shop down the road? Or maybe that big corporation that is headquartered in our community? What might it look like? So here's going to be our challenge. Again, in a few minutes, we're going to divide. I'll go into a breakout room. We're going to stay in there 7 minutes. And so also, I know in the CTE world, we often give challenges and it's time. So we don't have time to get in there and lollygag. We got to get straight to business. When you get in there, there's going to be a link that's going to take you to some paper in which you, or a digital document so you can capture your information. But we're going to ask you to think about, as a team, what it looks like or could look like from that stakeholders group. If I were a teacher or staff, what would community connected learning look like? What if I was a student? What if I was a business partner? And you're going to capture that information. You'll have about 7 minutes to do it. And then after 7 minutes, we're going to all come back, and I want at least one person in the group to be ready to share with all of us what it could look like in that stakeholder group. Now, if that makes sense to you, give me a little thumbs up. We know what we're doing. Excellent. All those brave people with your camera on, you're speaking for everyone. So good job, my friends. So Axel, if it's okay with you, we're going to go to breakout rooms. We'll set the timer for 7 minutes. And again, you are capturing your thoughts, your brainstormed ideas around what could community connected learning look like if I was in one of these different stakeholder groups. And if there's no more questions, I'm going to ask Axel to move us to a breakout room.
You are muted, Donna.
Ooh, I was muted. I was saying I loved getting all these faces back in here. On my first view, I just had this one little tiny strip, and I really didn't know how many we have. We got a whole room full. So that's fantastic. Thank you all so much.
I think we had some conversations in the middle of, so maybe Kristen, you could grab emails down in the chat, and you guys could share, because there was some good conversation going on there. So sorry about that. But anyway, go ahead, Donna.
No, I want to take just the next few minutes to hear about all these wonderful conversations that were going on in our breakout room. So would any of the stakeholder groups like to jump in and share what your group talked about?
Well, I know our business partners had some good ideas. Do you see what's on the thing I typed in, or do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I'll speak for our group. That's fine.
Yay, thanks.
Yeah, so we talked about business and community partnerships. We just talked about how schools and industry partners can kind of work together to explain kind of what it is we're looking for in potential employees and things like that. So hosting students, coming onto campus, being guest speakers and things like that. Sharing about what business has to offer, our students. So, why should a student go work for your company versus someone else's? Hosting mock interviews so that we get the feedback and so that we can so students can have the opportunity to kind of showcase their skills and the things that they're learning. Industry partners should be able to explain to us, let us know as a campus or as a school community, like, are we truly preparing students for what entry-level job expectations are? So professional skills, credentialing, use of machinery and equipment, things like that. And then we saw, or I wrote something towards the end there as we were running out of time, but I think oftentimes we see, I know in Arizona anyway, or in the Phoenix area, we'll see a business, but we don't know what they do. So essentially businesses hosting kind of community events, kind of explaining to the community, oh, this is what we're here for. These are the services that we provide. And this is how we can better partner with you so that, we're creating essentially a pipeline of workers.
Thank you.
Great job, businesses. How about teachers or students? What
can
could
go
it
with-
look like?
I can go with students. I didn't know if someone else was speaking, but when we were talking about students, and we did have Laura in with us to give us some insight too, but seeing and engaging with business partners, site visits, inviting business partners into the classroom to help with the relevancy of what they're learning, to also help with their future self, understanding that learning doesn't only take part or place in a classroom, ownership of their learning, inviting upperclassmen, like seeing the upperclassmen to help be like mirrors for their future selves, and then inviting former students to join advisory, serve as mentors, and the same if it's a 9th through 12th academy, using those junior and senior students as the leaders then to support, and then helping students understand. We got a little bit into the work-based learning of understanding that like work is work, but there's also work-based learning and how to make that difference and that growth of the continuing education that is taking place within their work-based learning.
That is fantastic. And doesn't it sound like it would be an amazing student opportunity? So thank you, Tara. And how about teachers? What's it going to look like for us as teachers?
Well, I'm glad we got to go last because, you've already created a great environment for us to share. And so thanks. So the teachers, the big thing is, that ability, we talked a lot about collaboration. So collaborating with outside entities. And I think a lot of us just kind of do that naturally. And that's why you're in a field like CTE. With that goes that idea of, to support students, you make those real life connections. And that really increases that engagement. So that would be, and we talked a lot about how do we do that in an interdisciplinary way. So we do that with industry, we do that with content standards, and then we do that even across different subjects and content areas. The other thing is, as a teacher, it takes time, right? So somebody did a good job of just sharing that it just doesn't happen. It takes a lot of time to make these things and these collaborations with business partners happen. Another example was how we take, like, let's say we were an English teacher, for example, we're tying in our curriculum to what's happening in the community. So that could be like a local, it could be anything from local, and quote, newspaper, digital or online or something like that. But you're really just tying it in for that authentic learning experience. And then we talked about a lot of sharing of knowledge between different departments as well, and how we can work together. And somebody brought up a good thing about, it's a kind of a school-wide approach to CTE. So it's not just about the CTE teacher doing it by themselves, but it's about the whole school environment taking on that role of CTE. And then, of course, you probably do this anyway naturally. If you're a CTE teacher, you're embedding literacy, science, and math into the curriculum while maintaining the industry-related standards. So, and then finally, it's like thinking about space. So how do we, as teachers, welcome outside community groups into our space? So maybe just not collaborating, but also sharing of space. So it was a great group.
Well, you just nailed it, because what I want to talk about, wanted you to uncover what is an academy. Well, my friends, you just hit it. You really did. I mean, an academy is really a small personalized learning environment where you're partnering with business in the community. You're having applied learning. It's rigorous. It's both college and career, and you're learning those 21st century skills. And for me, I was lucky enough to be able to teach and be a leader in an academy district for almost 2 decades. And what I will say is all of the things that you said, you talked about the student experience, the teacher experience, and the business partner experience. And what it is when you wrap the entire community around your students, that's what that transformation is all about. Now, what I do want to say is a lot of times people say, well, if I was in an academy model, well, what about I want to do lots of AP and get as many AP credits as I can, or I want to be in the band, or I want to have sport, I'm an athlete. All of those things still occur in an academy high school. So I'm going to show you a graphic for a moment. And this is a school, I think it's Romeo. So I think that's Romeo, Michigan. And this probably doesn't look that different from if you look down this right-hand column.
It's not showing up.
Whoops, you're not seeing it. So
yeah, we haven't seen.
Okay, technology person.
Did you're probably gonna have to reshare it, Donna.
Okay, we can do that. Are we seeing it now?
Mm-mm.
Give me one moment and I'll bring it up.
Okay, I think I'm going to get there sooner or later.
I'm showing it now, Donna. It's just the right slide that you wanted to share.
Oh, okay. So you're sharing. Okay, perfect. Yep, that's perfect. So yes, so if you're looking at this slide, if you look down that right-hand column, that may represent the CTE pathways in your school. And so you might think, well, how is this different than what I'm already doing in CTE? If you back up one more column, you can see that like pathways are sort of organized in these academies. Like that first business, hospitality, and culinary and information tech is all over in an academy of business, entrepreneurship, and innovation. And then you see that this particular high school, they have 3 academies that those different pathways are organized in. So they're sort of organized in like academies. And you'll notice there's a separate 9th grade academy. We feel that the 9th grade really needs its own academy, and that really is to transition into high school. But just as importantly, get educated on all of those pathways so that I don't just pick my favorite teacher or the teacher that my friends say they're really cool and they'll let us have fun in their class. But during that 9th grade, we call that freshman academy, students are really doing lots of career exploration, and not just exploration to uncover their interests, but also their aptitudes, their knowledge and skills of where their God-given talents might be aligned. But that truly still isn't the magic part. Axel's going to hit the next slide, and here's where the magic comes in. So right there in that lower corner, this is about the structure of high schools, and this is where the magic is. And we'll ask Axel to click one more time because I'm going to give you a big picture of that. So here's what a career academy school, how they're organized. So as you can see, this graphic here, you've got 3 different academies, and we'll assume it's that 3 academies we just used in the example. In each academy, there's a cohort of students. So those little blue dots down there represent students, and there's anywhere from 250 to 400 students in each academy. Those little purple dots in the middle, those represent our teachers. So not just our math, English, science teachers, but our pathway teachers also. And again, not just our pathway, but you've got your pathway, your CTE teachers, and your gen ed teachers working as a team to support those students. And then, of course, you would have an academy principal and an academy counselor in part of this model. And you all may remember that I talked about Elizabeth being the academy coach. In an academy high school, there's also an academy coach that would support all three of those academies. And their main job is to help make those connections with business partners. Because we know as teachers, we don't have time to do that. And so there would be someone in the school that would help with that. And what I love about this structure goes back to that conversation about how many caring adults do we need? We need a system that's going to have 5. And so you can see very clearly there, this is really like a school within a school approach. It's taking a large comprehensive high school and breaking it up into a smaller learning environment. And for me, that's the magic. Those pathways that we talked about, getting businesses involved in that, all of that is so important, but you got to get this structure right. And that is creating a structure where a team of teachers will support a student or a group of students. And I'm going to pause there for a moment just to see if anyone has any questions about that structure that might maybe some of those 1s or 2s.
I have a question, even though I think I'm a 3.
All right, go for it.
Where does the work-based learning person fit in this model? As the academy counselor or as an additional person?
That's a great question. A lot of times not the counselor, the traditional counselor is what I'm showing there. That is the traditional counselor where they will morph into being what we call an academy counselor. And that's some of the traditional roles of the counselor. The work-based learning coordinator, if a school is lucky enough to have a work-based learning coordinator in addition to the academy coach, then you might have one that would support the whole school. If not, the academy coach could take on that role. Now, if a school had the resources and you could have a work-based learning coordinator in each of those academies, of course, that would be wonderful also. But you would probably that fall up on that line with the counselor and the principal supporting more than one academy.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
I have a
Anyone
question.
else?
Yeah, in terms of the academy model, so is it best practice or most common for the students to choose their academy sophomore through
Absolutely.
senior year? So it's
No.
a 3-year academy versus a 2-year academy. I know some schools do like first 2 years are kind of exploratory and then they choose the last 2. What's the best practice there?
What we have found to be the best practice, they come into 9th grade, and in the 9th grade, they are really doing some career exploration over all of those pathways that we just showed you. I think there was like 10 or 13. And so they would do some exploration to identify which one they must closely either have an interest or an aptitude. And those groups there. So that's during that 9th grade academy. Near the end of their 9th grade year, when we're scheduling, a student would select one of those pathways. And typically the way most schools do it, we'll have students identify their top 3 choices. What we found out of luck and just the way it works out, most schools can hit between 90 and 95% of a student's first or second choice, just on educating the students well on all of the different opportunities. And then they would be in the academy grades 10, 11, and 12. And that would give them 3 years of content. During that 3 years of content, we encourage schools to also have what we call guaranteed learning experiences, or it's going to sound a lot like work-based learning. Like in the 9th grade, we typically will have a career fair or a college visit. So we're opening our eyes to the opportunities. In the 10th grade, once they've selected an academy, go on a site tour and see what that business looks like. In the 11th grade, go on a job shadowing. So they're working one-on-one with someone in that job. And then in their senior year, many schools will offer internships where that work-based learning coordinator comes in. They may spend half their day in the business working. They may do some service learning. They may do a capstone project, but they're really applying. So as you think about the work-based learning continuum, they're getting a little deeper as the years go on. Any other quick questions before we move on? All right, if not, Axel, if you'll get us back to the right slide. There we go. So I want to just give you a really quick overview of Ford NGL. I want you to just take a moment and read that statement. This is really what we believe in as an organization, and some of the results that we've seen come out of the communities that we work in. I'll show you a map in a few minutes, but we work in over 50 communities across the country and the world, matter of fact. And Cheryl mentioned, I'm fortunate enough to work in Scotland. And what I've learned is that students are students, and we just happen to call them pupils over there, but they're the same everywhere. Every student wants to have a voice. We want the community to prosper. We want to make sure that every community has a workforce and a diverse workforce so that when our kids graduate, they stay in our communities. And we feel that education is a right. And so these are some of the outcomes that we've seen in our NGL communities across the country and across the world. Next slide. To do that, there you go. There's the Ford NGL framework. And so we do this work around these three strands. And sometimes I like to talk about it like bookends or maybe a sandwich. And so I'm going to go with the sandwich. We're not too far after lunch, but that first bubble you see there in blue is about transforming teaching and learning. That's good teaching. That's what we do in our classrooms, but many of the things you all talked about, making learning real, doing application, that's that really making sure we're transforming what's going on in the classroom. What we found is to do that, you need that other piece of bread over there. You need that orange bubble, and that's transforming partnerships with your business and community, because we can't do this by ourselves. And so the Ford NGL framework is all about saying if we're going to have great learning experiences, we need it to be community connected and let our business and community help us do that. That middle structure, quite honestly, my friends, is the hardest one. And that is creating systems, structures, and processes to make this work seamlessly. Now, every one of you in CTE, you already know this. A lot of those systems and structures are there, but for many of us, it's just been where we were a one CTE teacher, or maybe we were one CTE teacher of a 5-member CTE team or 15-member team, but it wasn't for all students. Now, what I want you to really recognize are those words at the bottom. Those are our principles, and the most important one is equity, because what we're talking about here is not for a few students, not for most students, but every student. We're talking about each and every student in the school. And that's the magic of this framework. And again, this is the Ford NGL framework. Cheryl, anything you want to add there?
I think the only thing I would add to this was that it's taken years of conversations and learning from communities where academies were built. And then, sort of the lead of the academy would leave and things would fall apart. And, that goes into our history. We developed a lot of curriculum and teacher professional development around work-based learning. And we invested a lot of time and money in that. But then when somebody left, it went away. And so we really wanted to be thinking about how do we do this in a way that things can be scaled and sustained over time. And when superintendents leave, it doesn't go away. And so, you look at the communities that have been part of the network, and it doesn't go away because the community is behind this and they're at the table making the selection for new leadership. So, really, when we think about this, it's really about how do we build this in a way that it isn't there for some students and then 3 years later it's gone. right? Because we know it works for every single student. And I don't want to make this is not meant to be a commercial on Ford Next Generation Learning. What we're doing is we're sharing what we've learned, and in a really deep and meaningful way. When we went about this, it was about, if this works for some students, why shouldn't it be available to all students? And so what you will see if you go into Louisville or Nashville, or you're in Shakopee, or it doesn't matter how big or small the districts are, every student is involved in an academy, and every business partner is attached to academies, and they get to know these students and spend time with these students. And the teachers. So teachers get opportunities to do externships in the summer and really begin to understand, what does it mean to be a team member at this employer? And what can I bring back? And what can I design with this employer partner so that students are engaging in authentic, real world learning experiences? So I probably said way too much. I know we don't have a lot of time, so we want to leave it for questions, but that I just wanted to sort of add to that.
Thank you, Cheryl. And that's exactly right. And as she was talking, I was thinking about, as a CTE teacher, my whole career, I would have gen ed teachers say to me, and when I say gen ed teachers, I mean our English, math, or science, or social studies. Yeah, all students have to come to my class. They want to come to yours. And they want to come to our classes as CTE teachers because we made learning real. We made it authentic. And quite honestly, this model is giving every teacher an opportunity to have partners to make English just as authentic and real as engineering. And so I do want to ask Axel to skip to the next slide, and we're going to get through these last ones really quick.
If you want to go right to questions, that's fine. We will share this PowerPoint out for everybody.
Yes. All right. And so what questions do you have? We have a few minutes left, and we'd love to answer any questions.
I have a quick question, kind of more on that school-wide approach. What are some ways to kind of, we're in a district of about 2,000, little over 2,000 students, 9 through 12. So being able to communicate our plans from our Career Academy over to the main portion of the high school and making sure everybody's on board has become fairly, it's definitely not as easy as I would like it to be. What are some good ideas to maybe promote that a little bit more so we can get a little bit more traction with some of our core instructors?
The first thing I would recommend is what we, in any community that we work in, it doesn't matter how large or how small, you start with, just like I started here, what's your why? And you go into a community and you talk with parents, teachers, students, administrators, business owners, all those stakeholders that we talked about, and figure out what's your why. Without a doubt, every community is going to come to we want to help young people. We want young people to do well and stay in our community and prosper and all of those things. And then once you get on the same page of the why, the what, you figure that out together so that everyone owns it. And it's not just owned by Tom down the street that's saying this is what they're going to do in CTE, or they're going to, do academies, but it's owned by the whole community. And that's when the magic happens. And I'll tell you, does it take a little longer to have meetings where everyone is a part of it? Yes, it will take longer. But I want to go back to what Cheryl said about sustainability. When more people are at the table helping to develop and define it, it's very important.
Donna, I'm sorry that I skipped over the roadmap, because I think that might help answer Tom's questions and others about the process.
So Axel, if you want to go back to the roadmap. So Cheryl, do you want to talk about that, or do you?
I'm just going to touch on this really fast. But Tom, one of the things that, when you think about the framework, that was sort of the first thing we developed, right? Those 3 bubbles. But what we do is we work with a community to take them through a process. And I won't go through this in detail. We can do it another time, or you can follow up with me. But this is a phased approach where really exploring with the community, is this what you want to do? And do you have the right things in place? And if you don't, how do we help you get there? And then in the second phase, we're going deeper and we're sort of spreading that knowledge around the community. We're taking you out to see what it looks like in a fully functioning community that's been doing this for a while. And it's usually a large stakeholder group that consists of business partners and maybe your chamber and your teachers. And so at the end of phase 2, there's really a decision. Are we going to move forward? Do we really want to transform K through 12 education or even high school education? And then phase 3 is when we work at the community level and we bring all the partners together to develop a plan. And that takes some time, as Donna said, but the beauty of that is all of a sudden the community members are starting to truly understand, what does it mean to transform education? What's my role? How can I be supportive? How can I open my doors to the students and the teachers? And then once the plan is written, and even before that, implementation begins because people are anxious to get it going. And sometimes that's where you'll start to develop Freshman Academy. And then finally, phase 5, which is, down the road, 4 or 5 or 6 years, it's about really embedding some things that are truly important to sustainability and making sure your bench is deep. So this is something that as a community, you're developing together. And this is what we have found through this process is that's where the sustainability comes in. That's where people get bought in and say, if we're going to hire a new SUE or we're going to hire a new principal, we have to make sure that they're going to improve this model. They're not going to come in and start to tear it apart. So that was an important sort of element that we didn't share. Any questions about that?
No, thank you.
So I know that we really are close to being out of time. And if there is a desire to dive a little deeper into this in any way, we are happy to do a second piece to this. So just reach out to us. I think Jess is going to walk you through a couple things as a closing. We will be following up with a PowerPoint and the recording. Right, Jess, I'll let you finish up.
Yep, that's right. So after this session, you can expect a follow-up message from us, which includes a link to a survey in which you can indicate some of those pieces that Cheryl just mentioned. If you're interested in a part 2 on Ford NGL or whatever it is, we'd love to hear it. And so that's what that survey is going to be for. Look out for that. We'll, of course, also include the link to the PowerPoint and this recording. And then this is a really special piece here. So I believe most of you are all ACT members already. And so what we are hoping is that as you explore your membership, you tap into the ACTE Career Academy section. And so we're working actively to grow the section into a division. And so that requires folks to express an interest in that. And so if you, this is for this slide, what you're seeing here is for new members. And then if you're an existing member, just a matter of visiting your profile and then selecting under new and related services, that Career Academy section as one of your choices. And so we're encouraging folks to do that. And I know this was super rushed. And so you can expect details on that in your follow-up email as well.
And then we have a couple more coming up, right, Jess?
That's right. We have, and we'll just leave you with a teaser today, but we do have another webinar coming up in November. It's a follow-up to a work-based learning session we held this summer. And so we have another work-based learning session in November, and we'll, again, share details on that in the follow-up message.
And I want to thank Donna Gilley for her time and effort today. Whoever gets her as a coach is very, very lucky. She's amazing. I know, Elizabeth, you can speak to that. But she's very knowledgeable. So again, if you want to hear more about the Academy model, you want to dive deeper into the process, just let us know, respond to what we're sending back to you or the survey, and we'll make that happen. That's how these things are happening from your input.
Thanks, everyone. Please reach out. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. It's been a great time spending the afternoon with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.